joined by none other than the incredible Bobby Bones. As a renowned radio host, best-selling author, and American Idol mentor, Bobby has captivated audiences nationwide with his wit and wisdom. Join us as we dive into his journey and the lessons he's learned along the way. I was definitely a little nervous to interview the king of interviewing, but I think we did a pretty good job. Without further ado, let's welcome Bobby Bones to the podcast. I just heard that today was our last day of no humidity. So we're about to enter.
What do you mean? There's like an official last, like the groundhog of humidity came out?
Yeah, that's what Jeff said. He heard that it's probably like the last day of no, you know how it's nice and warm and it's been beautiful this spring. So I think we're going to start getting the humidity.
I'm okay with that. I hate cold. I would leave here if
cold.
I could.
I mean, I hate summer clothes. I want to wear cool pants, jackets, layers, sweaters, really.
Yeah, I don't. And so I was on some medication like 5 months ago. I have crazy OCD at times. It really cycles. I always have an OCD, but I have sometimes it really gets me. Mm-hmm. And I think it's from lack of control growing up. So I think I have like hyper control now, but it gets to the point where it keeps me from sleeping or keeps me from having a healthy relationship because I get so hyper focused. But I got this medicine from my doctor. And I stay in pretty good shape, meaning if I semi-regularly am on some sort of TV show, hosting it or whatever. And so I stay in pretty good shape. I started taking this medicine to help my OCD. And I wasn't thinking too much about it. And I went to my wife and I was like, I've gained 15 pounds, but I have not eaten different. I'm still training the same way. And she goes, well, have you like looked at your medicine to see what it would do? And I was like, no, who does that? Medicine does stuff for weight. And she was like, oh yeah. So I looked it up and it was like 1.5 pounds like every month. And I'd been on it for like 6 months.
Yeah.
And so the math doesn't quite check out to 15, but I put on all this weight and like I'm still trying to shake it off. So this is the first time that I'm not in love with summer clothes.
Right.
But I'm about to get OCD on working out again. See how it all comes back around.
Yes.
I'll be hyper focused on exercise unhealthily and I'll lose it back.
So my daughter got on some sort of medicine like that and she gained 50 pounds. And our doctor was like, you could gain some weight on this medication, so just be cautious.
Gain
or whatever.
some weight, like lightly tosses
yeah.
that. Yeah.
And she just let herself go, gain 50 pounds. And now we laugh about it because it was actually very funny. And now she's back to normal.
Did she know that while she was gaining, because I didn't really feel it. And then I just got on the scale and I was like, holy crap. Did she know when she was 15, 20 pounds that it was the medicine?
I think also she was fine with just eating because the medicine made her less, it was for like anxiety and stuff like that. But now she's not on anything and she's totally fine. I think it was just a hormone phase in teenage years. But yeah, it made her gain weight.
Who knew?
Oh,
I didn't know. Everybody else knew but me. I'm an idiot when it comes to like medicine. I don't like to take drugs because I'm scared I'll get addicted to everything. Mm-hmm. But I did ask my doctor if there was like a 2-week version of Ozempic. I was like, can I do like 2 weeks? Like just get like 7 pounds off.
Why wouldn't there be?
And he was like, don't be an idiot. Yeah. So I apparently no.
Oh, yeah. I would think that you could just do
like
it.
A mini Zempic.
Stop doing it.
Yeah, just like a mini Zempic, like half a cycle
Zempic.
or something.
I do want to try it just because I love that commercial so much.
There's an Ozempic commercial?
Ozempic.
I don't think that's that.
Yes, it is.
Ozempic. Hold on, I don't think it's Zempic.
Yes, it is. It's the commercial.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
It's a song that they're copying.
No, I know, but
it's magic.
That's the Ozempic commercial?
Ozempic.
You know. I've seen the commercial.
Never believe it's not so. They changed all of it to Ozempic.
Oh, yeah, it's like a parody.
Yeah, but I
really want to try it.
Now, don't you?
It's like they have like little cartoon characters on there too in parts of it, and then they do the 4-minute. If for some reason you experience heavy gambling or you want to eat a skunk, it's one of the side effects. Right. And you're just like, what the? Why? The side effects are worse than what you would get from the benefits. But I don't know how we got into me taking this pill, but I get really scared. I'll go to the doctor and say, well, my doctor knows me now. It's one of the weird things of like having money. And at times I can feel guilty about it because not having money for the first part of my life, never went to the doctor because who could afford to go to the doctor?
Yeah.
And now I have my own doctor, which is not my own that lives at the house.
Right.
But like I have like a doctor that's my own physician that I can call. Yes. And that feels so bizarre at times. So he knows that I don't want to really take anything that I could possibly be dependent or addicted to.
Right.
And there's a fine line. And I've had little experiences where it didn't go so well for me. But that being said, I'm upset that I gained all that weight. So here we are.
Well, when was that? Because you don't look.
That's because I'm wearing really like loose fitting.
I feel like you look really thin.
Well, thank you. It hurt last week. I was at a baseball game, went to the Arkansas Razorback baseball game, and I threw out the first pitch, and it was super cool for me. And then I go up, and there's a kid, and he's up in like the little suite that we're in, because since I threw out the first pitch, they were like, come sit in the suite with one of the billionaire boosters. And so I go up, and he said, did you play high school football? Well, first it was baseball, and I said, yes, I did. He said, did you play high school football? I said, yes, I did. He said, did you play linebacker? And I was like, I'm fat. If he thinks I played linebacker. But I took that, and he didn't even mean anything, but I took that and just went, I've gained so much weight, and I shouldn't worry about it that much.
Yeah, but
I do.
You're talking to the right person to have this conversation with, because I have an eating disorder majorly.
I don't want to be on TV and look bad and everybody make fun of me or think, why does that, he doesn't belong because he's not super fit. I don't know if it's a full-time eating disorder, but it's definitely some sort of, what's like below disorder?
Well, it's kind of like OCD. I mean, you think about it all the time and you're very concerned about it.
Yeah, I have that.
I have that too. And I would agree with you. Mine's part-time because, but I guess my biggest fear in life is being fat. And so I wouldn't say that
Were you fat as a kid?
No, I've never been fat except during pregnancy. But, I've had phases of ups and downs and stuff like that. But when I'm skinny, that's the happiest time in my life. And so I'm always striving to be thin.
I wonder why that's your biggest. Mine would be being poor again. I'm consumed with it. I think there's a lot of trauma there, obviously, and as I talk about all the time in therapy. So but I know where mine comes from. Like, what do you think yours is based in?
Well, it's because I started singing so young, and I think it's based on feeling that if you sing great and perform great and you look great and you are great and you're funny and you're perfect,
so value,
you're going to get love. And then I also feel that if I am overweight, then I'm not a good person. I'm annoying. I'm loud. Nobody wants to be around me. People don't respect me. So for me, it's a lot about respect. I feel very respected if I'm skinny and I'm. So it's definitely an eating disorder, but it doesn't manifest itself into me like starving myself or anything. But I do think about it all the time.
Do you think about it with other folks? Meaning, and I bet the answer would be no. Do you feel about other people the way you feel about yourself?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. In almost always, because, I take a lot of shit and I've taken a lot of shit in my life, and we have so much in common that I want to get into, but where if anybody that I loved was being treated that way, I would kill.
Yeah, you kill. Absolutely.
Yeah. But when you grow up in an experience that's odd, or there's abuse, or there's just even just I don't know how old you are, but I think my parents' generation, even just a lack of a lot of emotion can be harmful when they're not meaning for it to be. It's just the way they are. And I'm from the Midwest. I'm from Missouri. Grew up on a farm. Farmers are very stoic. Midwesterners are very stoic.
No time for emotion. Got to freaking work.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. And we were poor as well. I got hit by a car going 75 miles an hour.
What do you mean
died.
You got hit by a car? Your flesh was hit, or you were in a car and you were hit by another car?
I was standing in the middle of the highway.
When was this?
I was 8 years old. And that's why I wanted to talk to you about your near-death experiences. So the car was going 75. I had gotten off my motorcycle, crossed the highway. The car comes flying over. There are two hills, and our driveway was at the bottom.
You got off a motorcycle, but you're 8. Like the back of a motorcycle?
No, I was riding a Yamaha 80.
You were 8, driving on the highway. Like, I get it. I'm from Arkansas,
well,
but
I was
never.
going up and down my driveway.
Got it.
Got off the motorcycle to cross the highway, which I was not allowed to do, but I did it. I was playing house with my baby dolls, and I wanted to get the mail because I was pretending that I was the mommy and the wife. And so anyway, car hit me. I ended up breaking both legs, both arms, having a huge concussion, being unconscious for 3 days, in the hospital for 6 weeks. So I think,
wow. Do you remember that?
yeah, every bit of it. Well, after I woke up, I don't remember getting hit by
Yeah, that's
the
what
car.
I wonder. Do you remember it actually happening?
No.
Do you remember seeing the car?
I remember seeing a flash of blue, or like later in my PTSD, I would like kind of fall asleep and I would see the blue out of the left of my eye, and it would jolt me awake. And I fell in a well, almost died. I had a plane crash. I was in a private plane, and we were half a second from hitting the ground. So that's why I've been so excited to talk to you. And
you were in a plane crash?
Mm-hmm.
Where?
So we were coming home from a one-off show in Minnesota. We got on the plane. It was about 11 p.m. It had been snowing, so it was cloudy, completely dark. 2 pilots, great pilots. It was just a fluke. We took off. I was with my brother and his wife.
Like a prop plane or a jet?
A jet, but a
We'll
private
trade
jet.
near-death stories. I just didn't know you were. Wow. Keep going. Sorry.
Yeah. So the gyroscope, which is the piece of equipment that tells your airplane whether or not you're upside down, broke. So they took off manually. When we got to about between 10 and 15,000 feet, they switched to autopilot. The gyroscope was broken, and our plane thought we were upside down. So our plane flipped upside down.
No
So
way. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Every second of that. And I haven't even
Oh,
told
my
that story in the
God.
podcast. But yeah, so they've studied it. They've watched our flight path, everything that happened, all these pilots, and basically confirmed that we were half a second from slamming into the ground. But we never knew we were upside down.
That's what so you don't remember going, wow, the ground is on the wrong side.
Because we couldn't see anything. It was dark outside and cloudy.
That's right.
The pilots couldn't see stars or
So what happened? So if you were so close to the ground, then what happened? Why did you not hit the ground?
God. It was God.
But what did they say happened?
They just decided to pull up. They were like, they basically took a chance that we were right side up, because the co-pilot had done air shows his whole life. So he could kind of tell, but you can't see and you can't tell. Like I said, we never knew we were upside down. So they just basically guessed, pulled us so like this.
Oh my God.
So our plane was totaled. And while we were going up, pulling 4.5 Gs, that's when it felt like we were crashing, because the gravity. So the pilots were passing out. My brother saw them passing out. He starts screaming at them, "Don't pass out, don't pass out." So finally we made it, and the co-pilot turned around and he was like, "We're okay now. We're going to make an emergency landing in Fargo." We get to Fargo, and the only room that was available was in like a Motel 6, and I think they were having like a meth convention. And I was like, wait, no, we did die and we're in hell. Because it was I was like, what the where are we?
That's wild.
And yeah, so we all had like
Did
PTSD
the plane,
together.
anything happen to the plane?
It was totaled.
Really?
And
So
the driver's side wing was crushed like a Coke can.
because you had to land in what? Like a field? Did you find a small airstrip?
In Fargo. So we had about 20 more minutes to fly with one of the wings crushed like a Coke can. It was just like...
How did the wing crush when it turned?
From the G-force.
Got it.
Yeah.
Because those planes aren't supposed to take. And
They're not supposed to do that.
I only know the G-force and the G's because I went flying with the Blue Angels and it ripped my guts out.
Exactly.
And so I only even know what G's are because
it
of that.
ripped our guts out.
That's
it was
wild.
horrible. Yeah.
You guys are so fortunate. I'm scared to death of flying, and I fly all the time. But wasn't it weird that you were in a private jet at all? Like I think about that now all the time. That I'm just like, oh, I'm in a private jet, but I don't even know what that was. Like I didn't know people flew.
Exactly.
Like planes like that.
I'm like you. I grew up with absolutely no money. We were on food stamps at times.
And then you're in a private jet. Like life just moved you there. Okay, I'll trade you near-death stories. Let me give you one. I was going into the radio station. My career had started to be pretty good, to where I was syndicating my own show out of Texas. And I had spent, probably 80% of my check every 2 weeks on just keeping the thing afloat, because I knew that was my way to make it, was to get other stations to come on. So we had figured out a new technology. My company didn't care because they really didn't care what I did, because I wasn't in a major market.
And this is when you were making $50,000 a year.
I was doing doing mornings, $50,000 a year. That's right. Yeah. I was freaking rich.
Yeah.
That's really what I felt like. And I was like, I can spend all my money and invest into myself because I'm not used to making money anyway.
Yeah.
So, and I was walking up the hill. The show had started to do pretty good. We're in a few places, and a guy yelled, "Hey, Bones!" And I turned around, and he's got a mask on. He's running at me with a knife. And the only thing that I remember seeing was a tattoo. Like, his neck had a big black spot on it, because I wasn't like, it was probably 3:30 in the morning too. I used to get there really early. Now I kind of pull in. I work at home for an hour and a half. I pull in 20 minutes before. I used to get there 2 hours early.
Right.
Because I was so anxious about oversleeping. So I wanted to make sure that I was there very early. And so he's chasing me up the hill. And I have flip-flops on, so I kick them off. And I throw my computer thinking I'm just getting robbed at first. But I think, why did he yell my name if he's just robbing me? But I throw my computer. That doesn't stop him. That's not the bait. And luckily, there was a wall. He chased me all the way up. We watched on security. I was moving pretty good. I got pretty proud of myself.
Yeah.
I was like 4.6 40 probably back then.
Yeah.
And then I jumped a wall, wiped out, messed up my knee real bad. But because the wall was such a fall, he wouldn't jump the wall and chase me. And so he probably got within 5 or 6 feet of me with this knife. But the hardest part was having to go out and identify him, because they 2 weeks later showed up again. And they were like, "Hey, we need you to identify the guy." And I was like, no, I don't want to identify him. He already knows who I am. Right. It's not like I'm secretly identifying him. If somebody identifies him for a crime against one person, he's going to know.
Yeah.
But they were like, "Well, if you don't do that," because I wasn't. Like, I'm not brave.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to do it. And they were like, "Well, if you don't do it, this guy very easily could probably attack someone else." And I was like, God dang, guilty. I felt guilty, felt terrible. So I walked out, and they had him held. And I was like, that's him. And luckily, he never stabbed me again.
So I
don't know why he wanted me, but he yelled my name specifically. He had waited. We looked through the previous days. He had waited and kind of was there for like 4 days, but at different times. I would already be there, and he would show up. So he was trying to kind of gauge when I would arrive.
Right.
And finally he caught it, but he did not catch me. Still got wheels.
Do you think he was a Psycho fan, or that you said something that made him mad?
I don't know. Neck tattooed bros really aren't part of my demographic for the most part.
Well, you wouldn't know it.
All my tats. And I'm not a tattoo guy, but sometimes people will be like my friends will look for me. We were playing golf once, and they were like, "Hey, is my friend here? He wears dark rim glasses." And the guy goes, "You mean the guy with all the tats?" I was the proudest I've ever been. I was like, I was the guy with all the tats for a minute. I've always wanted to be that guy.
Yeah.
But I don't know. My opinions aren't so much controversial. They're constant, but they're not. I don't get on and scream about controversial things for the sake of it. If I have an opinion, I'll talk about it, but I'm not someone who has to push the envelope to be compelling.
Right.
So I don't know. I was pulling into a radio event once and had a gun to my head.
My God.
In my car. So it was a radio station event, and I was pulling up, and there was an ATM, and I was going to the ATM right before, and I don't know if they were waiting on, I don't know who they were waiting on, but it was my event at the radio station, or at the place, and the ATM was right beside the Electric Cowboy, which is where it was in Little Rock. So I pulled up to it, and immediately, boom, gun to head. And I was like, what? It was so weird. I never got scared while it was happening, is what was crazy about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is I remember thinking, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And so he has a gun to my head, and he's like, "Hey, I know you have money in there," which made me think he knew who I was.
Right.
He could not have. He definitely, but I was driving like a Accord, like a beat up Accord.
Right.
But maybe if he knew who I was, he just thought because I was on the radio, I had money in there, which I didn't even have any money then. And he said, I know you have money in there. Get it out. I could not remember my PIN number.
I remember that in your book. I
couldn't remember.
So why couldn't you? It just the stress.
No idea, because I wasn't scared. He even pistol whipped me, and I didn't feel it, because I was just like, wow, this is crazy. Yeah. And I had a friend, a girl in the car with me, and I tried to hand her my wallet, and right about that time, somebody from the other side said, boop, 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 and put a gun up to her head. And I even thought, okay, I can just nail the gas. and try to get out of here. There was a little curb in front of me. I was like, I can get out of here. But I thought, man, if she gets shot from this, and I was like, that would have really not been good. So he got no money, and he pistol whipped me. I didn't feel it. Where I got in trouble with the cops was I called the TV station first to come and cover it because I needed the press.
Yeah.
Because I was broke and trying to make it. And so I called the TV.
Well, you said, what are the cops going to
Oh, yeah. What are they going to do?
Yeah.
I forget. When I wrote my first book, Bare Bones, I never reread it except for when I had to do the audiobook.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what I wrote in that book for the most part. So, yeah, I remember thinking, what are the cops going to do? They ran off. They're not going to find them.
Right.
So at least let me get a little something that can help my struggling career.
Yes.
But that one was weird. And I had PTSD so bad from that. And I've had, 5, 6, 7 death threats since then. When I moved to Nashville, I lived in, what was the name of that little subdivision I lived in? It was in Brentwood.
Creve Hall?
No, there's a golf course. It doesn't even matter, but like LeVox used to live over there.
Governor's Club?
That's it.
Yeah.
So when I moved here, my company said, hey, you've had too many near death experiences. We've invested all this money in you. You have to live somewhere with gates. It was just a bottom line. I mean, I'm just a data point to a major company, and that's okay because I know what the game is.
Right.
And so I go, okay, so I moved into Governor's Club. I'm not kidding. Like 4 days later, some guy murdered his wife, like 4 or 5 houses down, and was running the streets with a gun and hid. And so they wouldn't let people out of their houses. And I'm like, what everywhere I go, people. So it's been weird. I have a few of those that have been very close. Luckily, not in a while.
Thank God.
Yeah.
What? You're a magnet for that kind of stuff. I am too.
Yeah.
Like if someone is going to say, that's never happened, never heard of that happening, this is the first time that this has ever happened, it always will pertain to me.
That's kind of your constant. You're the one that it happens to.
Yes.
When people are like, that would never happen, but to you it would. The plane crash thing blows my mind.
Yeah.
Like I don't even know how people fly. Those pilots have to get up there every single time and be like, can you believe this metal's up in the air?
Right.
Like every single time they got to be like, this is crazy.
You can't think about it.
No.
You can't think about it.
I hate it. I hate flying.
I don't like it either, but I just realized that it's a part of the job. I have to, and I'm not afraid to die because I'm saved, so I know that I'm going to heaven. Like, I just try to remind myself of all of those things. And then there's the Jell-O thing. You know about the Jell-O thing?
But the problem with that is, so if a plane, you just imagine the plane in Jell-O and that's turbulence, right?
Yeah.
The problem is, I have a friend that was basically a fighter pilot. And he was like, the Jell-O thing's not exactly real, that turbulence can actually crash a plane if it's bad enough.
Yeah.
Rarely is it. But I just wish he would have let me think the Jell-O thing was real.
I wish he would have too.
Yeah, but I took that from you now.
Now you shared it with me.
Yeah, I took that from you.
And my daughter's here who's scared of flying.
Me too.
Yeah.
I want you guys to be just as scared as me. Misery loves company.
Just dread it like...
Every time.
Me too.
And I've started to, and again, I am very fortunate now that I've worked to a place where I probably fly private 75% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
When I fly commercial, I like being in the big plane because I don't feel the bumps. And so it's a weird thing to even talk about. For a long time, I didn't talk about it. And I would be like, I'm still broke. But then I was like, people know that there's a success. So I don't.
Yeah.
So now I'd rather talk about something, and I don't go on my show or all the time be like, I'm flying private jet. I don't take pictures in private planes. I don't do any of that.
Right.
But I would just not be telling the truth if I didn't go, yeah, I'm scared to death, and especially in little planes, and we fly private a lot.
Right.
So it always sucks.
Yeah, it's just a very uncomfortable thing.
No control.
And I hate it because you lose a couple of days before you have to go because you're worried the whole time. You're just thinking about it.
I don't like heights in general either. It's not just a plane thing. I think it's heights too.
Heights don't bother me. I just don't want to panic from turbulence. Like even the flights don't bother me because I'm like, if it's my time to go, it's my time to go.
I don't feel like that. I'm
in a plane or
I don't feel like it's my time to go. I feel like I've had to freaking nails in the ground survive through like pistol whipped and jumped. And I feel like I'm just going to hold on as long as I freaking can and cut my head off if you can save it and wake me up in 1,000 years.
Yeah, and you will. But if it is, your time to go, I mean, it is, like you said, it's lack of control and the fear of the fear. I don't want to be like, I've been on, a flight before where there's been like nearly an hour of turbulence, of bad turbulence, where you're just like,
The whole
okay,
time, yeah.
now I'm just so scared and so uncomfortable. And by the time you get there, you're just a wreck.
Yeah, you're tired.
I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it. I would much rather be on the bus all the time.
The problem with the bus for me, because I would use a bus and tour a bit, but I just could, since I was so inconsistent, night one never slept because I felt the and I just couldn't sleep when he'd hit so I'd feel like the bus was going to tip over and die.
Yeah.
I think about death all the time, actually.
Yeah. Are you afraid to die?
I don't know if afraid is the word. I'm kind of consumed with the idea that no one that we've ever met or know has ever died and come back and sat and said, hey, I've been there. This is what's up. Because I feel like I've learned basically everything from people who have done it or learned from other people who have done. And so death is the one thing nobody that I know, or even people that I know in their lifetime, has ever got to experience and go, oh, you're going to love it.
Yeah.
So because of the unknown, remove faith from it because of the unknown. For me, death is like, man, it really could be awesome. Or you could just be nothing, or your energy could turn, or heaven could actually be, so it's the unlimited possibilities of interpretations.
Right.
That I'm like, I wonder. But then I go, because I'm going to die, right? And then I think, what if I'm not going to die?
Right.
Like, what if I actually am in a version of a simulation and I just wake up, but somebody's been like paid for like the Bobby program?
Well, my faith tells me that like we're in forever now. We're already in forever, but this isn't our home. This is our life on earth. But we just had this conversation the other night at family dinner. The unknown of dying, of like how we're going to die and what is it going to be like, I think is scary to me. But I believe that I'm going to heaven. But I've also always thought maybe the rapture will happen before I die. And because I've never pictured myself dying. I do think that God, I have a really close relationship with God. And I do think that we reach a certain age where, and I'm not there yet, but where we start to come to terms with it. Because when I was dying in the plane crash, I was not afraid at all of death. And the only thing I thought was, I'm about to meet Jesus. Any second, I'm about to meet Jesus.
How healthy of a place that is to be.
Yeah.
Because I would have thought, the back of my pants are brown. What am I going to do if we survive? I mean, that would have been it. Even just the concept of I talk about a simulation, but and most people I know do believe in heaven and hell, and if you do go to heaven, but I mean, that's basically, for lack of a better term, a simulation as well, right? Because that's the ultimate place you go, and this is just something you're doing with some organic matter. So sometimes if I talk about the simulation, people go, well, no, I don't believe in like robots. I'm like, no. That just says this is temporary, and there's something that is bigger than us that's actually involved in a major way, and we're just temporarily living in this organic matter bones. So
we are souls, and after the Lord returns, there will be a new heaven and a new earth, and Christ will reign on the new earth for 1,000 years. So we're basically already in forever. But do you remember when you were little and you would start thinking about forever? And
I still think about forever. How that can't be a thing. Right.
But, and it makes you come out of your body. Like it scares the shit out of you.
The idea of forever? Yeah, because what even is it? Like the idea of...
You just have to trust God. But most people, though, I will say, if you haven't really read the Bible, then you will be afraid. But once you read the Bible, for me, it took away all fear, because I realized that, Christ was the Son of God. He died on the cross for our sins. We're saved going to heaven. You know, I have all those beliefs, but that doesn't mean that I don't have fears that scare me during my time on earth. For instance, you know, the loss of a child.
That sounds terrible.
I would kill myself. I would kill myself. So there are things that I'm scared of, which, you know, the main thing the Bible says and talks about is do not fear. That's the main phrase throughout the Bible. God doesn't want us to fear. So do you have kids?
No.
Okay. When you have a child, or if you ever have a child, you'll understand, you know, the love that you have for your own kid. And we're just sinful humans. God is perfect. So the love that he has for us is perfect. And so that's why he keeps telling us not to be afraid. Don't be afraid. Do not fear. Don't be anxious for anything.
I'm all that though, but I mean, I don't do a good job at listening.
Yeah.
I don't think the rapture happens in our lifetime because I think generation have all thought it was happening in theirs.
Yeah.
And it's just an odds thing. It's like, I think everybody thinks it's happening during their time.
Right.
And so I'm kind of not really expecting it during my shift.
I think as you get older, you kind of are hoping the rapture happens so that you don't have to experience death. You know, that if you're saved, that the rapture will happen, and you know that you won't experience death.
I think my fear with the rapture would be, and my analogy would be when I was 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, I never got picked for teams. I was always last picked. And so I'd be waiting around for somebody to pick me, and hopefully there'd be an even number. If it was an odd number, then I would just get assigned to a team or have to wait till next time that the rapture happens. And I'm like looking around ready to be picked, and I'm the only one left. I'm like, oh crap, I didn't make the cut.
But it's so easy to make the cut.
I hear you, but I thought it'd be easy to get on the dodgeball team, and it wasn't.
It's so easy to make the cut. All you have to do is believe in Jesus, that he died for your sins.
Yeah, I felt that, but I'm still like, I thought it'd be easy to throw a dodgeball and get picked too. That's just like the fear that I have, and I'm like, look at all my friends floating up. Bye. Why am I not floating? And I'm jumping, and I'm not getting lifted. Like that's like a fear.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thanks to the Bible Minute with Sara and Bobby.
Well, it's important because. And you're right. Every generation probably has thought this is it, you know, but the world is kind of weird right now. And so you start thinking about
everybody thinks the world was weird right now? I think,
do.
You know, so I grew up in a Pentecostal church with my grandma. Then I moved to a Baptist church when I was 11 or 12, right? Church was like a sanctuary for me because we didn't have a lot of food. That was protection. But I remember my grandma raised me and adopted me for a long time. And I would ask her about back then. I was genuinely curious. And when she would talk about like Vietnam, like that 60s time, it feels like cyclically, like there have been those like Vietnam.
Yes.
Now, the Civil War, like, so I think we're in a crazy part of the cycle that continues to repeat itself.
I agree with you. And, you know, even Jesus said, no man knows the day or the hour, the time, not even me, only the Father in heaven knows. So nobody knows. So I think that's, you know, another reason to really, really hold on to when God says, do not fear, because we're not supposed to be afraid. You know, he's got us. But I also understand fear, and I struggle with fear a lot because I think we grew up very similar.
Like you were listening to my book. I thank you for that. Or listening.
Of course.
What did you hear that you were like, who knew?
I like your, we're a lot of alike in the sense that you kind of came from nothing. I came from nothing, and you were determined to make it. And make money. And like you said, you didn't want to be poor.
All fear-based, by the way, as we're talking about fear. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, completely understand that. The near-death experiences, and just, you know, my parents divorced when I was 12. And then my dad left, and he was a really bad divorced dad. So I had him for 12 years, and then he was gone. And just a lot of things that made me think I'm going to have a different life. And I also was like, you know, I'm a awesome singer. Like I can sing anything. I've been given this gift, so I'm not going to waste it.
That's really cool that you had the knowledge young that was a skill you needed to use and also hone?
My mom put us on stage because she realized that my two older brothers and my sisters came later, so they also have the talent, but I'm just talking about this period of time. Realized that we had incredible musical talent. And so a lot of moms would have been too busy or too lazy or whatever. And we were already farming and working our asses off. But she went out and hired musicians and
that's awesome.
Music equipment.
That's like love you probably didn't even know then.
Right.
Like the depth of that love. But then now as you're giving it and you see how hard it is to actually have to give at that depth, you're like, dang, that was awesome, Mom.
Because she was tired.
She's still alive?
Yes.
Oh, that's cool that you can even acknowledge now that.
Yeah. I asked her why. I said, why did you do that? I mean, why did you not just say, isn't that cute? My kids have talent. Also, I believe in, God's directing all the time. God is always providing and protecting. So it was definitely, the Holy Spirit, in my opinion, pushing her to do that. But her answer was funny. And you know what she said? My mom is an amazing athlete. And all of us kids are great athletes as well, which music and athletics go together. In the human brain and in the human body. But we used to go watch her play on a women's basketball league team when we were little, So I go, why did you do that? Why did you take the time and the effort to do that for my brothers and I? And she said, because I wanted you to be more than just a great athlete from a small town in Missouri. I wanted you to be more.
So she wanted you to have more than she did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, how unselfish is that?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
She's, and she, taught us all our work ethics because nothing happens. And, you talk about, I'm 52 and you talk about the younger generation, and I feel bad for them because they don't understand that it doesn't just happen for you. You have to work so hard to get what you want, which I find fascinating about your story because how did you know that? Because, you have a successful radio show, so you're going to get rich off of a successful radio show.
Are you saying me or in general?
In general.
It's like 0.01%, right? It's
right.
Not, but yes.
To get to where you are.
Sure.
Yeah.
It wasn't so, I never had anybody tell me I couldn't do it because I always wanted to be three things, which was on the radio, on TV, and be a stand-up comedian. Like that was always the goal. Mm-hmm. And I never had anybody tell me that I couldn't do it, but nobody definitely said I could because it was a fairy tale. Nobody left Mountain Pine, Arkansas. And if you did, you went to Hot Springs.
Yeah.
So for me, I just wanted to get out of where I was. Step one was to get out of where I was.
Same.
Like nobody knew even when and where I was going to college till the day before. And I was like, guys, I'm going to college. I'm moving tomorrow. So it wasn't like, again, they weren't saying you can't go to college, but they also weren't like, hey, you should go to college because nobody went to college. Mm-hmm. It really wasn't a thing. So I remember the day before like college started, I was just like, I'm packing out my car because I didn't have a bedroom or anything. I slept on the couch my whole life. And then so
you did? I want to hear about that.
I just packed up my stuff from under the couch into my old 88 Subaru, which I'd saved up to buy, and was like, mm-hmm. I'll see you guys. I'm moving to college. Mm-hmm. And they were like, all right, bye. That was it.
Where'd you go to college?
I went to Henderson State University.
You did all that by yourself. You applied.
Yeah. I had to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these days we do everything for our children, but I'm like you. I did everything for myself.
I didn't even think it was that big of it. I didn't even think there was another way though. Like I didn't even know how poor I was till I got out of being where everybody was poor. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know when I was growing up how difficult it was for me at that time. Also not the most difficult situation ever. I've seen way more difficult situations than mine. Mm-hmm. But I just wanted to get out because I didn't want to repeat kind of the cycle of what I had been in.
Yes.
And so,
and God had a plan for your life.
Yeah, let's hopefully it's still being planned. Yeah. But it's like my mom was an addict. Really didn't know her as not an addict. I loved her. Had a lot of let's get you back in rehab type phases. But she had me when she was 16, like a month after her 16th birthday. She got pregnant at 15.
Wow.
And it's not like she came from money. They were very poor as well.
Right.
And so when that happens and you're a 15-year-old and you don't have resources, of course, that's really hard. And so I remember my mom was always like younger than everybody else's mom.
Yes.
Which was kind of weird. But again, she didn't really and I don't blame her because she didn't really have a shot.
Right.
So I just didn't want to.
Did she come from addicted parents?
Her dad died when she was like 8 of cancer, and my grandmother was not an addict. However, I have my biological father who's still alive, who I now know. We have no relationship, but he left when I was 5, and only a few years ago did I track him down. But he had his issues with abuse and prison, and my uncle died of alcoholism. My mom died from drug addiction. I have 3 or 4 relatives in jail from all, small town, not a lot of options. I understand why people do opioids.
I agree.
Like,
yeah,
it's an epidemic for sure. And we're not going to fix it like it's being fixed now, but like, I get it.
Yeah.
If you feel terrible all the time and your life it sucks balls all the time.
Yeah.
And you can go cheaper than like a street drug.
Right.
And actually relieve some of that pain for just a bit. Absolutely.
Well, because
it sucks. I'm not saying it's right. I just want to make sure everybody knows this. But like, I understand why the addictions in parts of the country where I'm from happen and why those happen there, because there aren't a lot of options. So if your only option is you can feel better for a minute, then I would feel better for a minute.
I 100% agree with you on that. And I understand it and why it is, especially in small town and rural America. And I think that there's probably not a lot of desire even to
people aren't taught they can have desire though to fix it.
Yeah.
Right. When you're from a place with no resources and you're never told that you can do things and you're not offered an education, it's not somebody going, I want to be an addict. It's someone going, well, let me look at all my choices here.
Yeah.
And there aren't a lot of them.
Right.
And this choice here, at least I can feel good for a minute.
Yeah.
Like, I fully understand why that an addict would, and why my mom would make choices like that. I never actually, like, I would be angry at her growing up because she would definitely go in and out of hard drug use, meth. Oh, she was always an alcoholic. But when she was doing the harder stuff, I would be really upset. And I would ask her, I would say, why don't you just stop using drugs, basically get clean? I didn't know that terminology then.
Yeah.
But I'd be like, why don't you just stop? And she would, I don't know that my mom and I ever had a real life human conversation. It was always about functioning or how we're going to get by financially or drugs or alcohol.
Right.
So it was never like, hey son, I love you. Let's talk about. So.
And she probably was not.
She didn't know how to. She wasn't taught those skills.
Yeah.
So, but I remember going, hey, why don't you get clean? And she was like, it hurts so bad to try to get clean. And I remember thinking, well, that's a cop-out answer. I thought it my whole life. Like, okay, so it hurts. It hurts to go through withdrawal, but just suck it up and go through. After about my 3rd instance where, I'd been jumped, I'd been pistol whipped, I've had death threats. I had a pretty significant time. I had someone break into my house during my show and take a lot of stuff. So I was starting to I couldn't even sleep without seeing somebody attack me. So I went to my doctor, and this will all come back to my mom, but I went to my doctor and I said, hey, I can't sleep. And every time I close my eyes, somebody's attacking me. Not even sleeping, but if I close my eyes, it's somebody attacking me. And he knew at the time, that I had issues with not wanting to take something that could be addictive because I have a crazy addictive personality, even now. And so I said, I don't want to take anything that I can get addicted to. So he's like, okay, let's try this kind of therapy. Tried it for 3 or 4 months, didn't get better. And I was always sick because I was never sleeping, right? So my body could never repair itself. We tried a different kind of medication that was non-addictive. It was to the point where I was like, I'll do anything. I don't care. So he gave me, it's called Edirol. It was a sleeping pill. It was kind of like one of the common Lunesta, whatever the case. And he said, I'm going to give you this Edirol. And I took it for a while and I started to feel like I had to be tethered to it, meaning I couldn't go anywhere without it. Because if I did, there was a chance And I would go through the whole cycle. And so I was like, screw it. I'm just going to stop taking sleeping pills. And the withdrawal that I had, I remember I'd open my eyes and it was still all black and I was vomiting. And it's like 3 or 4 days of just hardcore. And my mom had already died, but I was thinking, if this is what it's like for sleeping pills, there's no way if I were taking meth or if I were doing that I would ever be able to get through it.
To get clean.
It was the only time, like I felt close to my mom when I was going through that because I actually understood why she would never get clean.
Yeah.
Because what's the use? You're going to get clean and then you're going to be in the same crappy spot that you were to begin with. And you're going to go through all that illness, sickness. I went through a percentage of it.
Yeah.
And it was the worst thing to ever happen to me. And I felt close to my mom then because I was like, I get it.
You understood. You were able to find some empathy with her. And
I finally understood her answer
Yeah.
as to why she never got clean.
Yeah.
But it's those reasons. And I think eventually I'll run for office at some point. I don't want to have to, but I feel like there's just a couple things that I think I can help fix. And I flirted with it this last year about running for governor of Arkansas. And food insecurity, and it's very selfish things. They happen to me. So like I have an understanding of them and I'm also out of that. So I can have the ability to look back on it with, okay, I think I know how to fix this.
Yeah, but it's not selfish because
well, it didn't happen. I mean, it happened to me.
A lot of people go through
absolutely.
it. Yeah.
But I feel it's selfish because it's very much a me thing. It's like I'm trying to fix me, help the kid of me in the past.
Yeah, yeah.
But food insecurity and then trying to slightly change the cultures in these rural places. So, because the opioid epidemic is not going to be fixed tomorrow.
Correct.
We are so deep in it, and you're not really going to beat the pharmaceutical companies.
Nope.
They have way more money, but
and power.
Yeah, that's not the way to go. But people are like, I'm going to fix it, but fixing it instead of a revolution of fixing it, it's got to be an evolution of introducing fundamental growth to rural areas, like small ability to learn a couple things, to be presented. This is how you get out.
I'm dying to interrupt you because I was.
Please interrupt me if you want, but I'm just saying that's where all that has gone to for me.
I was going to say that. Well, because when I said I don't think there's a big push to stop the opioid use, the drug use, the fentanyl, all of that, I was going to say the same thing to you, that I think the reason the world seems, maybe as much as this could be going towards the end as maybe other people felt. I can't even imagine what World War II felt like,
right,
in the Great Depression and all that. But I do feel that now it is, to me, coming to a place where it feels Hunger Game-ish, where it's like there are, the elite, and then there's the rest of America in the small towns. And everything has been taken away from the small towns.
Yeah, the middle class has just been evaporated.
Been abandoned.
Yeah.
And so you go through, like, when you drive to the beach and there's all those cute little towns, and I won't name the town. Do you ever drive through the town when you drive to the beach, to 30A?
I don't know much about beach. I'm not a beach guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cutest little town. I mean, you're just like, oh my God, that house, so cute. Well, one time we got forced to detour because they were doing road construction. So we had to go into the inner workings of this little town that was so picturesque.
As you were driving by.
Yeah. It was one of the scariest things I've ever done. It was what seemed like zombies. I mean, just people on drugs because they're poor. There's no business there. Everything big rules the world. So big pharma, Amazon, your big Walmart stores. I mean, even during the shutdowns, I mean, all of those, Home Depot, you can't get COVID, but at the local hardware store, you can get COVID. So it's very sad because I grew up in that small town, just like you did. And they have been forgotten, left behind, abandoned. And it shouldn't be that way, because that's what gives people purpose is, we've owned this little store in this small town for 80 years, and our family has, or we've owned this restaurant, or whatever. It's very sad, but you go into all of small town, middle America, and it is overran with it. It's so sad.
I would like to think that I have been able to learn both ways, how to do it poor, how to do it rich. I can see all the little things that rich people use as, I mean, I do them now and I'm like, oh, look at this. Right. This is how they keep the foot on the neck of the person who doesn't have money,
right,
and keep them paying just their interest on their credit card bills and keep them. So I would like to think at some point I can use these skills or this knowledge. And if it's not run for office, it's at least, and the reason I ended up not running for office is because you don't really affect that much.
It's hard.
I can affect more.
You can as a governor.
I'm telling you, and that's all. Yes, but it's so just pick up the phone and ask for money all the time.
Yeah.
And keep doing that because you, and politics is nastier than it's ever been. But
yes.
I just feel like I can influence a little more right now, just generally speaking.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Than I could have then. So, right. And also I was there's some shady stuff happening to me while I was flirting with the idea of it. And I was like, I don't even want this crap happening to me. I'm not even running. And people are like investing me and going through my crap.
Well, and like you said, politics is so icky right now that who wants to run? Because, people are just going to try to destroy you and bring out rumors about you and stuff like that. But it is very, very sad but I believe that what you're doing, like, I agree with you 100%. What you're doing has more effect than running for office. The system is so broken, and it's, the big PAC money and all that. You're right. It's just about getting money. And I love the grassroots movements of anything.
I wouldn't even mind the money coming in if we just knew who it was from and there was some sort of, okay, we are going to limit, or this is a crazy idea, but the same way that we get taxed, let's say we have to identify, and I know this definitely isn't a political deal, but let's say we have a PAC and we're going to raise 100 million in this PAC, and anything over 100 million, it's then going to be taxed, and the money that comes in, because we have to report it and who it's from, that's going to be taxed, and that percentage is going to go back into whatever areas this person is running from or whatever. But that's not happening at all. Sports have luxury taxes. Baseball has luxury tax, right? Once you hit a certain limit over the salary cap, you got to start paying taxes on the more that you spend. There are all these ways to implement like real life proven models, but the one place that you can just do whatever you want is donating to political candidates the wrong way. You can do your $2,000. Yeah. But then you can't. If you're going to do more, you're going to give millions. Yeah. There's nothing that anybody.
But you're right. And being poor and being rich, you understand both worlds. And, once you're rich, it's very easy to get richer and stay rich, unless you're just an idiot. But going from poor to rich is extremely difficult.
Did you have guilt?
No, because I have never thought that I've made enough money as an artist. Because it's so expensive to be an artist. Like Jay and I just watched Inventing David Geffen the other night. It's an amazing documentary about David Geffen. You know who he is?
I know who he is, yeah.
And he said to one of the Eagles, I believe it was Don Henley, and he said, "Oh, I'm going to make you rich, but I'm going to be a lot richer than you," because he was running, all these different artists where you're just one artist. And so I don't think the formula is set up correctly for artists either, except for a few. So no, I never had guilt. Now, I've never had money guilt because I've worked so hard for it, for every dime. And then I went through a divorce, lost half my money there. And then
that sucks.
And lost half my royalties in the divorce. And
you lost half your
like
royalties.
that. So I feel I've never had the guilt. I've always felt like I've worked my ass off for it.
I think mine comes when I have spending guilt, when I buy something stupid. And I have a way, again, I just try to manage my brain at this point. So if I buy something stupid, I match the stupid with something that I feel like is worthy, not to buy, to give. Because I used to just buy something stupid and feel guilty. But I was like, you know what? Maybe I don't feel so guilty if I buy a big box of baseball cards that cost thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
If I then give thousands of dollars, the same exact amount, to something that matters to me.
Right.
That's my not even realistic way of having spending guilt. But I'm also afraid I'm not going to have any money ever again at the same time. So I'm battling that as well.
Exactly.
And it's a great problem to have because, wise man once said, having money is not everything, but not having it is. Yes. And so that's
easy to say that,
absolutely.
Money's not everything.
When you have it, it's so easy to say.
When you have it, it's easy to say. When you don't have it, you're right. It is everything. Or wanting something that you're going after dream-wise. It is everything until you have it.
And I try to hopefully, I just went and taught classes for a couple of days at a college, and I sat in the room with them and was like, hey, look, if you're going to want a career in arts, it can be any art. It's got to be the only thing that you can ever imagine yourself doing, because you're going to be broke. You are not going to have any security. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants to do it because it seems fun. And if it's the only thing that you can imagine yourself doing, that's the only way you should do it. If you're ever like, I don't know if it's not for you, right? So I'm having this conversation with them. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot of kids who grew up similar to me. And the one thing that I can find pride in is to look at them and go, I'm not that skilled and I have security. Mm-hmm. And if I can do it, like, I want to be the example to people that they also can do it, because I think that's it. I think it's hard work, and it's also strategy, right?
Yeah.
Because it's risk at times. Mm-hmm. Art isn't not risk averse. I mean, it's tough.
It's so tough.
But as long as you,
now.
Yeah, it's like if you want to create and you're okay just getting by for the rest of your life and you still feel fulfilled, it's for you.
Yes.
Don't want anything more than that. You can dream and desire, but if I can do it, look at me. There's nothing about me that's really that special.
Yeah. And
if I can do it, I believe other people can do it. And so I think those have been the ways that I've been able to kind of temper I feel terrible for having success.
I have a friend whose dad, who grew up in Kentucky. Her father and his brother bought a coal mine. Basically, long story short, became rich from owning these coal mines. And she has told me many times that she had to go to therapy for guilt for having money, like a lot of money. And other people didn't, other people from her town. And so she has been in therapy about that. And I've never thought of that. I've never felt guilty. I have felt grateful, don't get me wrong. And I've said a million prayers of gratitude. I used to bargain with God when I was trying to make it. Because I grew up on stage. We were little local celebrities around Missouri, but trying to make it and become a star, to go to the top of your industry. I would be like, Lord, I swear if you will let me get famous, I'll talk about you. I will teach people about you. I'll, honor you. I'll give you all the glory. So much of it is, it's either, God's plan for your life or it's not, or it's just luck. But I find you to be very fascinating because I love the rags to riches stuff, but you also had so much more than just being without money. You also, basically had to, do you feel like you probably felt that you had to take care of your mother?
Oh yeah,
but way around.
I feel like that was normal. I mean, I didn't know the difference.
Yeah.
It's not like I should get a medal because again, I didn't know the difference and I wasn't doing it because I was like, look at me. I was doing it because it was just like, we got to get to the next day.
That's probably why you have fear though.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And also, hopefully people listening to this, and I just want to say this because a lot of the stuff that we're talking about when it comes to money is so unrelatable, but we just want people to know that it can be unrelatable for you as well. Like anybody can do it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And that's the whole point that I try to make is I'm like, I fly private now. I shouldn't. And the only reason I get to it is because I sacrificed a lot and made strategic decisions and moved across the country and slept on the floors of places.
Yes.
And I just want and I tell these stories because again, I didn't for so long. I just want people to know that if I can do it, I don't have a discernible skill. I can't sing, I can't dance, I can't rap, I can't run a 4.240. I don't have anything like that. But that if I can do it, that it doesn't matter what your version of success is. It could be what we're talking about. It could be 8 kids and being able to dedicate, like anybody can do anything. The world is completely bendable. I believe it 100 times over. And whatever it is that you desire, whatever it is that is your unrelatable, you can achieve it because so far I have. And that's kind of why I've got to the point of being healthy with talking about it, because I was so afraid of it and embarrassed of even that in a while. And a lot of my early, like I said, I didn't know that taking care of your mom or your grandma, I didn't know that was abnormal.
Yeah.
Just thought you did it. That's what you had to do. And so
your grandma, your mom's mom?
Yes.
Did the two of you take care of your mom together?
My mom was gone a lot.
Okay.
So it wasn't.
And you stayed with your grandma a lot.
Yes. So she adopted me for a while too, because it was just easier for her to be my mom and my grandma.
Yes.
Mostly my mom. That's when it came to like school and stuff.
Yeah.
So my grandma adopted me. My mom would be gone we never really knew when she would come back, and she'd come back. And she got semi-ish clean when I was probably 12 or so, very brief period, not totally. And she married who they divorced, but was my stepdad. We call him Arkansas Keith, who was a really good influence. He worked at the mill, like went to work 5 days a week. It was kind of crazy to see somebody have consistency, because that was the one thing I never had was consistency.
Right.
Like that to me that's currency even now with people that I hire and work with. Like consistency. That's gold.
Yeah.
Because I never saw it. And then when I did with Keith, and we have a very close relationship now.
That's wonderful.
And they divorced 4 years after they met, but he was that consistent. It just making sure I had like shoes, little things like that it left such an impact on me. Like I talked to him yesterday. Yeah. So that was really one of the benefits of having my mom get cleanish for a little bit. She met a guy who was good, pretty good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. But I didn't know the difference in taking care and not. It's just whoever was able did what they were able to do.
You were really, really close to your grandma.
Yeah, extremely. Like her initials were first on my arm. That's my grandma, HH. Her name was Hazel Hurt.
Oh my gosh.
So I got her initials, and that's my mom. So those were the first couple of tattoos that I got, and I'm definitely not a tattoo guy, but my grandma was so important to me because again, she was consistently available and loving, even if I wasn't with her, because my mom would take us away sometimes when she would get home. So I wasn't always with my grandma.
Oh, but that probably drove your grandmother crazy.
Probably.
Yeah.
Now as an adult, I would say yes. Yeah. Obviously I didn't know that then. Yeah. But my grandma was like the only love that I feel like I really ever felt. Yeah. And nobody ever said love. There was I was never told I love you. I never said it. I wasn't told I don't love you.
Correct.
But there was no love. But the first person, so I never said it. The first person I ever told that I loved them was my wife, like 3 years ago.
Wow.
Ever. Yeah, ever.
Oh my gosh.
Like I was way too old, but I didn't know what it was.
Right.
Like I wasn't, I thought it was like a movie thing. Like honestly. Yeah. Like I thought, and I'm so selfish, and not that I want to keep and be greedy, but like I've only had to take care of me. Mm-hmm. So I never really, except for my dog, I would tell my dog, I had to have 2 dogs.
I was going to ask you if you told your dog that you loved
Yeah, that's what I practiced on.
Yeah.
Like I literally practiced, you know, some people would make out with their hands when they were younger, practice kissing. Like I wouldn't kiss my dog, but I would make out, I wouldn't make out my dog. I would tell my dog that I would be like, man, I love you. Yeah. That's how I'd practice saying it. And so I remember I said it to my now wife, and it was like a weight vest had been taken off. Mm-hmm. Like I'd been running 10 miles and someone decided to take the heavy weight vest off now, so you can do the next 10 without it.
Yeah. Does your wife give you the same feeling that your grandma did in terms of, I feel loved, I feel cared for, I feel...
Yes, but I don't know what that, sometimes I still don't understand it.
Really?
Yeah, and sometimes I still push it away, or it's so uncomfortable. And sometimes she has to go, hey, she has two parents that are amazing. I love them now.
Yeah.
Like it's, I didn't think I would ever even say that about two people I don't even, like I'm not related to.
Yeah.
But like her parents are awesome and they've been together for their whole life, Kaylin's whole life. And so she had two models of great models of two people loving each other and getting through times just good and bad, but always loving each other. So she understands it a little more and understands how to show it and do it and how to live in it. I do not.
I want you to have a baby.
Yeah, I mean, that's the plan.
Is it?
Yeah, that's the plan. I think my fear of being my dad has been, we've only been married 2.5 years. So I've been like, let's wait a couple years before, right?
Right.
And the plan is, but I think my real insecurity is I don't want to be my biological father. And I also don't know what it's like to be a dad. I never had one.
But I will tell you, you're going to be that guy that came into your life, Keith.
Yeah, I know that's, you can say that. I'm scared to death I won't be.
You will be. I can just tell. I can tell because I can tell that you're going to be such a great dad to be opposite of what you had growing up. So when you meet that child, and thank God you were born even when your mom was 16, but I can just tell, like, I just know things, and I can tell you're going to be an amazingly loving dad, and you're going to want to do the opposite of everything that you didn't get. And how lucky are your children going to be, because you did work your ass off and now you have the money, and so they can have this wonderful life, this wonderful mother that you didn't get to experience all the time. I really, really want you to have babies.
My fear, so my biological father was 17, right? He was a teenager too when I was born. I think my fear is that I'm so selfish in my work. Like, I work a lot. I love what I do. I think that's why I've gotten good at it. I think if you do something you love, you get better at it just out of love of doing it. And then hopefully you get so much better at it that you start to see the rewards.
Yes.
But you can't bet on the rewards. But I think that I've been so selfish in just chasing my career for so long that I don't want a baby to come along and like me resent it, because I think I was probably resented.
I can just tell your heart though.
I mean, but can you?
I can. I mean, you weren't worried about me as much as I wanted you to be when I fell in your chair.
It wasn't that. It was just, I don't mind awkward. And I knew once you didn't break anything, I was like, we will treasure this moment in the future, although it shall be awkward now.
No, I can tell. I really can. And also, I'm going to confess to you, the first few times that I was ever around you or on your show or doing the baseball game, I remember either we were on the same team or opposite teams, but we spoke for a minute. I am so surprised by who you really are versus who I thought you were.
What's the difference? What did you think I was? But why did you think it?
Because I was angry at radio.
Oh, okay. I understand that.
Bro country, and for not playing women.
So what was your thought of me?
I don't give a who Sara Evans is. She's not hot right now, because I think I came in hot, meaning at the top of the charts. That was my insecurity.
Do you know but where you were right? This is great though. Where you were right is I didn't give a crap who Sara Evans was, but I also could have given a crap who Sara Evans was, but it wasn't about any sort of music.
Yeah.
Because my show, we play some music, but not really. It's not even about that. But I think I've been lumped in at times to musical, like, again, cycles of music where
tastemakers.
It's like, I'm not a gatekeeper on music. I do compelling content.
Yeah.
There's a reason I've done pop and hip hop and alternative. It's not the music, but in the best way, I didn't give a crap who Sara Evans was, but in the best way, I give a crap who Sara Evans is now, but I don't have to.
Yeah.
But I think but I understand why you would feel that way.
Yeah.
And also I get so insecure too that people have bad feelings about me. It's not like I'm the warmest if there's an event like that, because I'm also like, I bet they're judging me.
Yeah.
So I could see where that could also come off as, what a dick.
Yeah. But you were so nice to me when I went on your show, and all of your people in the room with you were also so nice, and you guys laughed at all my jokes, and and I'm not talking about this past time, but the time before.
Yeah.
And but now just knowing you, I can tell that I respect people who struggled a lot, growing up, and who've had to go through really, really hard times, and then they still end up making it to the top. And I can just tell that your heart is good. I can just tell that.
Well, I appreciate that. I think it's as good as anybody else's, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this town also, as you'll know, makes you kind of untrusting of everybody all the time.
Yes.
Especially once there's a certain level of you can provide something to somebody else. And I think I probably shifted into a bit of that too. Like, why do... And
yeah, how do you deal with that?
So in my career, I didn't have any, I wasn't cool. I didn't have any friends. I had a couple friends like in high school, but I wasn't unpopular. Nobody was popular where I'm from. There's not a such thing as popular.
Yeah.
But
because how big was your town? Not to interrupt you.
45 kids graduation class.
35.
Yeah. So very
we
very
were all
same.
the same. Yeah.
So it wasn't that there was popular or not popular, because there wasn't like a financial, there was like the rich kids.
Correct.
But I didn't have a lot of friends because I didn't do a lot of things that folks did where I came from. I like to read. I had to work every night after school.
Right.
And so once I got to college and nobody still was really drawn to me, I was like, okay, I don't have a lot of friends. I'm going to find the kind of people that I want to hang out with. That'll be my friend group as I get older. But then I started to have success, and I started to have all these people want to be my friends. And I was like, well, they didn't want to be friends with me before I had success. So why would they want to be friends with me now? So then I didn't want to be friends with anybody who wanted to be a friend with me, because I was like, what's their motivation?
Right.
And I think I blocked out a lot of good people too because of that. But even with like dating, like no girls wanted to go out with me. And then I started to have some success, and then I was like, a lot of girls wanted to go out with me. So this is like, I'm not going out with anybody, which again, I probably assigned that unfair label to some people who didn't deserve it.
Also to yourself, because you may have not have come across as
absolutely. I had confidence at least. Yeah.
But when you got successful and you started making money and you became Bobby Bones, I'm sure you projected a more confident man that attracted women.
Even if it was fake. There was a confidence.
So most of us are faking it.
Absolutely. And where it turns into this town for me is, I got to this town, I was a bull in a china shop at first, and I was like, I hate everybody. Like, everybody can screw off. I'm doing my own thing. Again, a lot of insecurity. And I'd kind of started to pick up some real momentum here, to where I started to have success, not just on radio, but on television. And I was doing projects that were, and then I would go, well, these people that want to be my friends, they don't really want to be my friend, so then I'm back in the same cycle I was in at 25 years old.
Right.
And I started to penalize this town because I felt like everybody wanted something from me, which again, I probably penalized too many people and didn't. But now that I'm older, there are definitely those, but I can see them a little clearer for the most part. But this town as a business sucks. There are some really good people though here now.
Right.
And I've had to differentiate the two. And I think mostly I do it well now, but I did not care who Sara Evans was for the same reason I care who Sara Evans is now. I don't have to care. Right. And now I get to invest what I care about in what I care about.
Yeah.
And so I hate that you felt that way, but I completely understand why you would feel that way, because I was probably feeling the same way about you.
I just lumped you into people at radio have always made my career hard. So clearly this is just another, radio jerk who I'm going to have to, who's going to make me feel insecure, and you're nothing like that at all.
Thanks.
I mean, you're nothing like that. In fact, you're the opposite of that. You're I could sit here and talk to you all night. I mean, I could do a project with you or write a TV show with you, because I can tell that we're so similar in the way that we think and the way that we view the world, except
You're not very good at sitting though. I really like to work with people who sit well. And you sat down like nothing I've ever seen. It was like concrete slabs on Lincoln Log. It was like,
No, I sit well.
No. It was.
I don't cross legs well. It was when I crossed my legs and I went.
Yeah. No one's ever. I've had like 80 people sit in that chair, and we've tested it since then.
It's weird.
Yeah, no, you're one of a kind for sure. And if you guys didn't see or hear, she fell over. And I felt bad. And at first I was like, are you okay? And then once I realized you weren't hurt, I crave awkwardness.
Because I was dying laughing. You crave awkwardness?
It's just, in the moment, it's not I love surviving it. And not having to address it.
I love it.
And then when you got up and you started like cracking little jokes, I could tell everybody in the room was like mortified. And I was like, well, let's see where this goes.
No, it was awesome.
Yeah. And that's when I think I was like, you know what? No longer screw Sara Evans.
Yeah. It was the best thing that could have happened.
I hated that. I hated that for you. And if you weren't hurt, A+. And it looks like you came out okay.
I was not hurt.
Once you got up, I was just like, let's just sit in this. This isn't like we'll never be able to reproduce this feeling.
It was amazing. And then the funnier thing is that you sent me those chairs. And
to buy me new ones.
To buy you a new one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really, really do want to thank you so much for doing this because this is all you do all the time and you have to be just like, ugh, but it really means the world to me. And I want to be the first to know when you're going to have a baby.
I don't know that I can promise you that, but for the sake of the podcast, you're up first.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to be at least in the top 20, something like that.
Okay.
Please have me on your show again.
Okay.
And I think you're a fascinating person. And I do think if it's not politics, it's something because you've got a lot going on in there.
Well, thanks. And I will conclude this by saying that I rarely do anybody's podcasts ever. Like I hardly ever guest on anything because I'm pretty precious about, I want my things on my thing. So I can't be cut up and edited and put out. And I don't even do written interviews anymore because people can edit so I'm very precious about hopping, but this to me has been awesome. And thank you for having me on because we say no to a lot, but as soon as it was like, hey, will you over? I was like, absolutely. It'd be awesome. So I hope to you that's a compliment because I meant it as a compliment. So I really appreciate you having me.
It is. Thank you so much.
All right. Goodbye, America.
Have a wonderful evening.
Have a wonderful evening, America.